Somewhere in the rivers of sub-Saharan Africa, something is watching you. You can't see it. The water is brown, thick with sediment, and the surface gives nothing away. But beneath it, submerged to the eyes, motionless as a boulder, is an animal that weighs 3,000 pounds, runs faster than you, and feels absolutely nothing about ending your life. Most people get this animal wrong. They see the barrel-shaped body, the comical ears, the footage of them yawning lazily in zoo enclosures, and they file it away as something slow, something harmless, something almost funny. That mistake has killed more people than any lion, leopard, or crocodile in Africa. The hippopotamus is not a background animal. It is not scenery. It is the most dangerous large land mammal on Earth. And the reason most people don't know that is the same reason hippos are so lethal. They don't look like what they are. To understand why hippos are so dangerous, you first need to understand what you're actually looking at. A male hippo stands roughly 1.5 meters at the shoulder and weighs between 1,500 and 3,000 kilograms. That alone means nothing, until you see one move. Because the assumption, the one that gets people killed, is that an animal shaped like a barrel filled with cement must be slow, must be lumbering, must give you time. It does not. On land, a hippo can reach speeds of 30 kilometers per hour. In short bursts, some estimates place that closer to 40. For comparison, the average human sprinting speed is around 24 kilometers per hour. You cannot outrun a hippo on flat ground. You cannot outrun one on a riverbank. You cannot outrun one in shallow water, where they push rather than swim, driving their mass forward with their legs against the bottom. The only place you might escape a hippo is deep water, and that brings its own problems. But the speed is almost secondary to the bite. A hippo's jaw opens to 150 degrees, a gape so wide it looks structurally impossible, a mouth that could close around a human being without effort. Its canine teeth, which are not used for eating but entirely for fighting, can reach 50 centimeters in length. Its bite force has been measured at over 1,800 pounds per square inch. To put that somewhere useful, a saltwater crocodile exerts roughly 3,700 pounds per square inch. But a crocodile's jaw is a narrow precision instrument. A hippo's jaw is a demolition tool designed to shatter the body of another hippo. When it closes on a human being, the result is not a wound. It is structural destruction. And unlike a crocodile, which bites to grip and drown, a hippo bites to destroy. It tosses, it crushes, it returns, multiple times. Here is the thing that almost no one knows, and that changes everything about how you should think about this animal. Hippos are not herbivores that happen to be big. They are not gentle giants with a bad temper. They are semi-aquatic mammals with a hair-trigger aggression response, a territorial instinct that governs entire river stretches, and an evolutionary history that left them with almost no natural fear. Their closest evolutionary relatives are not horses or rhinos, as their shape might suggest, but whales and dolphins. That lineage matters. It means hippos are wired for an aquatic world where dominance, not flight, is the primary survival strategy. A dominant male controls a river stretch of up to 250 meters. Within that territory, he controls access to water, to females, and to safety. Any intrusion, another male, a boat, a fisherman waiting at dawn, is processed as a territorial challenge, not a curiosity, not a nuisance, a threat, requiring immediate, overwhelming force. But here is what makes hippos particularly lethal compared to other dangerous animals. They don't bluff. A lion that feels threatened will often posture first. It will growl. It will lower its head. It will give you a window. A hippo opens its mouth wide, that famous yawn that tourists photograph, and people assume it's bored or sleepy. It is not yawning. It is issuing a final warning, and the window between that warning and the attack is measured in seconds. When a hippo charges, it commits. There is no feint, no reassessment. The decision has already been made. In 2014, a group of tourists was crossing the Niger River in Mali in a wooden pirogue, a small, narrow boat barely wide enough for two people to sit side by side. There were dozens of people on board. A hippo surfaced beneath the boat and capsized it in a single motion. At least 18 people drowned. Some accounts place the number higher. It happened in seconds. The hippo didn't pursue the survivors. It didn't need to. The river did the rest. This is one of the most important things to understand about hippos and water. The attack isn't always the killing mechanism. The water is. Hippos capsize boats across sub-Saharan Africa with a regularity that rarely makes international news, because these incidents happen in remote river communities, among fishermen and traders who have no alternative to using those waterways. In Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, hippo attacks on fishing boats are not rare events. They are occupational hazards, they are expected, and they kill hundreds of people every year whose names never appear in any database. The estimates for annual hippo-related fatalities range from 500 to over 3,000 per year, depending on the source and methodology. The true number is almost certainly somewhere in between, and almost certainly undercounted, because these deaths happen far from hospitals, far from reporters, far from anyone who tracks such things. The assumption is that hippos are dangerous in water and manageable on land. This is wrong, in a way that is worth understanding precisely. Hippos spend their days in water, where they regulate their body temperature and protect their skin from the sun. But at night, they come ashore to graze. A hippo can travel up to 10 kilometers on land in a single night, following well-worn paths to feeding areas they have used for years. These paths are not random. They are fixed, memorized, and defended. If you are between a hippo and its path back to water, through darkness, through tall grass, through simple bad luck, you have placed yourself in one of the most dangerous positions a human being can occupy in the wild. In 2018, in the South Luangwa Valley of Zambia, a safari guide named Paul Tembo was killed when a hippo emerged from the bush at night and charged without warning. He was experienced. He knew the area. He had worked with dangerous animals for years. None of that mattered. The hippo came from a direction no one anticipated, at a speed that left no time to respond. This is a pattern repeated across rural Africa with grim consistency. Farmers returning home after dark, children fetching water at dusk, women washing clothes at the river's edge in the early morning. These are the real victims of hippo attacks, not tourists on safari, but people whose daily lives put them in direct contact with the most dangerous river corridors in the world. Not all hippo attacks happen in remote Africa. In 2005, a woman was on a boat tour in Uganda near Murchison Falls National Park when a hippo surfaced alongside the vessel and bit into it, partially destroying the hull. She survived, but sustained severe injuries that required multiple surgeries. What made her case notable was her description of the attack. There was no warning she recognized. The water was calm. The animal appeared without sound, and struck within a second of surfacing. That element, the silence, is something survivors consistently describe. No growl, no splash, no telegraphed approach. Just stillness. And then violence. Most apex predators have behavioral patterns that, once understood, give humans a marginal ability to de-escalate. Make yourself large in front of a bear. Avoid eye contact with a gorilla. Back away slowly from a lion. These are not guarantees, but they are grounded in the predator's own risk calculation. The animal is assessing whether this is worth it. Hippos do not perform this calculation the same way. They are not hunting you. They are not hungry. They are not assessing your caloric value. They are eliminating a perceived threat from their territory with the complete confidence of an animal that has never in its evolutionary history encountered something it could not destroy. No natural predator pursues adult hippos. Not lions, not crocodiles, not anything. This means the hippo's aggression has never been tempered by the experience of losing. It has no concept of a fight it cannot win. This is the detail that researchers who study hippo behavior keep returning to. The animal doesn't escalate through stages the way most large mammals do. It goes directly to maximum force, because in its world, maximum force has always been enough. What makes hippos even more unsettling is the intelligence operating beneath the aggression. Hippos demonstrate complex social memory. They recognize individual animals and individual humans across long time spans. Communities living near hippo-dense rivers have reported specific animals that seemed to specifically target boats operating in their territory, returning to the same stretch of river, responding to the same engine sounds, engaging the same vessels. Repeatedly. Whether this constitutes genuine recognition or territorial conditioning is debated, but what isn't debated is that hippos learn. They adapt. Their behavior changes based on experience in ways that suggest a capacity for individual strategy rather than pure instinct. A hippo that has been harassed, startled, or injured near a specific location will return to that location with a heightened aggression threshold. It remembers, and it responds accordingly. There are approximately 115,000 to 130,000 hippos left in the wild. Their populations have declined by roughly 20% over the last decade, driven by habitat loss, drought, and illegal hunting for ivory. Hippo canine teeth are a significant black market commodity that accelerated dramatically after elephant ivory trade restrictions tightened. The communities that live alongside them are not blind to their danger. They have developed rituals, restrictions, and generational knowledge about when to cross certain rivers, which channels to avoid, and what sounds mean the water has become lethal. This knowledge represents centuries of lived experience with an animal that kills on a scale most of the world simply doesn't register. And yet, within those same communities, the hippo is also something else. A symbol of power in multiple African cultures, a figure in folklore, an animal whose presence in a river is understood as a sign that the ecosystem is functioning, that the water is alive. The fear and the respect are not opposites. They are the same thing, shaped by centuries of proximity to an animal that demands both. You should be afraid of hippos. That instinct, if you have it, is one of the most biologically correct responses you can have. Not because they are evil, not because they are savage, but because they are a 3,000-pound territorial animal with no natural predators, a bite that can cut a boat in half, a sprint speed faster than any human, and absolutely no reason to hesitate. The deep oceans have creatures we will never fully understand. The Arctic has a bear that hunts with intelligence and patience. But the hippo is different from both. It doesn't live at the edge of the world, in places no human needs to go. It lives in the rivers that African communities depend on for water, for food, for survival. It shares the most essential resource those communities have, and it does not share willingly. The river you need to cross to get home tonight, the water your children swim in before school, the channel your fishing boat has used for 20 years, the hippo was there before you. It considers the water its own. And unlike the deep-sea creatures that dissolve when brought to the surface, unlike the polar bear retreating as the ice disappears, the hippo is not going anywhere. It is still there, just below the surface, watching.